What's going on, everybody? This is Raw Dog Sports. I am Mike. That is Evo, the goddamn Jets. Man, there's a lot of things to talk about, and news just broke as we were getting ready to go live. So we're not going to do too much introductions. Evo, my man, how you doing? Welcome in, brother. Let's say hello, and then let's talk about the fucking wild news that just broke.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's a wild time of year. Legal tampering, or as the NFL likes to call it, the negotiating period. A little bit boring so far today, up until now, because it looks to be real. Doesn't look to be April Fools here. We have breaking news as we are starting up the show. The MAXX Crosby to the Ravens deal has fallen through. The Ravens have backed out of the trade. This is being released by Adam Schefter via an image that looks like it is straight from the Las Vegas Raiders.
It's crazy. You normally don't hear about deals falling through. I know that nothing can officially happen. We're in the legal tampering. Nothing can be official until the new league year starts tomorrow, I believe, 4:00. I could be wrong on the time. I don't fucking remember the time. But
4 Eastern, I believe.
Okay, so 4 Eastern. All right. So the fact that nothing can be done, this is technically they haven't. I guess they are backing out. But man, why would the Ravens back out of this? Is there a concern with MAXX Crosby, something in the medicals? Because listen, they wanted to say that he was hurt at the end of the year. They weren't going to play him. We all thought that was bullshit, that they were not playing him simply because. What are we looking for?
Why isn't that? There we go.
There you go. Wow.
And yeah, again, Las Vegas Raiders all over it from Adam Schefter. It is not April 1st. I remind you, it is March 10th. Unless it's some sort of Mario Day joke, this looks to be the real deal.
I can't believe MAXX Crosby is not going. I'm very happy it keeps MAXX Crosby out of my division with a offensive line that's kind of being rebuilt with some interesting pieces. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the fact that he's not going to be there is insane. The Raiders have to be thinking, okay, this is a terrible situation, because they were about to get a recoup of a lot of assets, 2 first-round picks from the Ravens, who are kind of maybe in a little bit of a rebuild. And now they don't have that. They have a disgruntled superstar who still wants out. His trade value just took a massive fucking tank for the Raiders, it feels like. Now, I guess you can maybe swing and tell me that somebody's going to come in more aggressive now, and I would maybe listen to that. But the fact that this fell through for a team that is perpetually always competing, finding really good pieces at edge, to not agree that's insane to me.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on here? Where I know this is all just speculation, postulation. Fucking, we're shooting from the hip, because holy cow, nobody has had any time to react to this.
Yeah, that's the thing, is ESPN doesn't even have anything yet other than just a small banner that says Justin Ravens backed out of the MAXX Crosby trade off from Adam Schefter. This is as of 4 minutes ago. It looks like some sort of a tweet or something like that they're displaying. So again, we are reacting to this real time. It is wild. It'll be very interesting to find out more information. We probably will end up seeing stuff as the night goes along as to why this happened. Probably lots of speculation as to why. But it's the Ravens that called it off. So it's not like the Raiders were happy with all the different signings and stuff that they were bringing in. And we're like, you know what? Actually, we don't need the 2 first-round picks this year and next year. We can just go ahead, use Max, because we think that he'll be good for us. No, this is the Ravens calling it off. And if you look at the Ravens offseason so far, this was the main thing that they did. So far, outside his trade, they've signed guard John Simpson, who's mid. He's okay. to a 30 mil deal over 3 years, so 10 mil a year, pretty damn cheap. And then Tyler Huntley. They re-signed Tyler Huntley to be a backup quarterback. Otherwise, it has been radio silence from the Ravens. They've just been sitting pat. So for them to back out of this, I don't know that you get buyer's remorse because it is MAXX Crosby. Of course, there's obviously injuries that, he could be going and doing a physical, but you think that would have already taken place.
Yeah, you would have figured that everything would have been done and in place before the agreement happens, before it's announced, paperwork sent to the league.
Right. And we know that MAXX Crosby dealt with an injury towards the end of the year. Unless somebody got their hands on, new reports, MRI, something, you don't want to think of anything too nefarious, but MAXX Crosby has had a past riddled with substance abuse, things like that. We're in a world right now where NFL players get caught up in legal issues all the time. Who knows?
MAXX is absolutely not that guy anymore.
You would think, but for this sort of a blockbuster deal to fall through, it takes so much for a blockbuster deal like this to go through in the first place. For you to pull it back, I don't know that we've ever seen anything on this level. 2 first-round picks for a trade and a player like that to fall through and for things to back out on it. So it is very wild in this moment for this to be happening.
Yeah, I don't really understand why it's taking place. I'm here for it though. I appreciate the fact that the Ravens pulled the plug on this. For me, I mean, MAXX Crosby's a fucking stud. I love MAXX Crosby. So why this is happening, I will never know. But I feel like it's got to be in the best interest of my team that MAXX Crosby's not in my division.
Yeah, that it is going to be very interesting. If this is injury related, it makes a lot more sense. MAXX Crosby isn't the youngest guy out there. He's, I believe, 30 years old, or 29 and some change. 2 first rounds, something that, we hadn't really gone super in depth with so far talking about this trade in the first place. I thought it was a little rich for him, but not now. You probably have all the other people that were willing to bid before. And if this isn't like a medical issue or something like that, if this was just the Ravens being like, you know what, we need to do this different, you are going to have a whole bunch of people involved wanting to throw their hats back in the ring probably. I think it's wild for the Raiders because, in today's episode, we are going to break into all the different moves that have happened so far during this legal tampering period and who are the winners, who are the losers. The Raiders have made a lot of moves. They have thrown around a lot of money. Now you have to worry about MAXX Crosby's contract again, though. Like, they were probably doing arithmetic with him not being around, the money being different. This could change a lot with who they've already signed and if they can complete these moves. I mean, they had a lot of money to begin with, but you can't look at just this year when you're making these free agent signings. You have to look at the next 3 to 4 years because a lot of these contracts breach into that zone, and the algebra might not math out correctly anymore.
Yeah, well, I wonder if I want to get your take on this. Do you think the moves that the Raiders have made to improve their team could maybe repair this relationship and give MAXX Crosby a warm and fuzzy about, hey, we're headed in a more positive direction that we can compete, and that relationship can be salvaged? Because MAXX Crosby's a good fucking player, unless something crazy has happened that we don't know about.
Yeah, look, obviously, like I said, we're going to go into all these different free agent moves that have happened, but I'm just going to run through what the Raiders have done so far. We've got Tyler Linderbaum, obviously the big one, 3 years, $81 million, the biggest contract for an interior offensive lineman by a hefty margin. They re-signed Eric Stokes at cornerback, signed my wide receiver Jalen Naylor to a 3-year, $30 million deal. $35 million deal. Kwity Paye off the edge, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker both coming in, Malcolm Kuntz was re-signed on the edge, and they traded for Taron Johnson. From the Bills. So it makes me question, like, those are obviously good moves, very heavily leaning towards the defense. You get 2 offensive guys in there, but it was heavily leaning towards the defense, which needed a lot of work. Like, does he feel better about playing there? If Max ultimately does go into next season as a Raider, does he feel better about playing there? Yeah, probably. That team is in a better direction for sure. But I still question, are they going to be able to make all of those moves that they just made still happen come tomorrow when the actual new league year starts? Because their cat people, John Spytek, Tom Brady, and their cat people are in a room right now, probably being like, "What the fuck do we? How does this all work out?" I could see something like the Taron Johnson trade not going through now because their trade of MAXX Crosby didn't go through. Your offseason plan just completely flip flopped in the matter of a couple hours, or who knows? Maybe they saw this coming on the horizon. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you could have seen this coming. I feel like somebody in the media world, the Schefters of the world, would have heard something, some inkling about this before just the fucking bomb dropped. But I want to take 1 second. Everybody who's here now, thank you guys very much. There's a bunch of you here. The news of MAXX Crosby breaking it is probably what has driven a lot of you here. So thank you very much. And you've all stuck around, and I appreciate that very much. If you wouldn't mind, please take the time, like, share, and subscribe. We are live on X, YouTube, and Facebook right now. If you have it in your heart, please go and check us out on those platforms. YouTube would be great for a subscribe. Also, if you like shorts, producer Amber has been killing it with the shorts on TikTok recently. But let's get back into the show. MAXX Crosby going back. Now, we can pull it up, figure out the SportsTrack. I don't know if they're going to even be up to date with what they were intending on doing.
No, a lot of the stuff with SportsTrack and isn't even up to date with like the presumptive signings, because we do see things with the tampering period or the negotiating period right now where players will agree to something and then end up backing out for certain reasons. We see it sometimes with teams as well, usually based on medical things. So I don't know if they're going to have anything necessarily with this contract yet.
Well, listen, they had $50 million in cap space to enter this offseason. So they had a lot of money to work with. Now, obviously, they have spent some of that on Tyler Linderbaum and other moves, but I don't think they have gone anywhere near that 50 million range. Now, bringing MAXX Crosby back into the fold maybe
is that what it's saying they have now? Because I thought that they were closer to 100-something million.
So I got SportsTrack up right now, and they are saying that they are at 50
I saw something
right
today
now,
where they still had 70-something to play around with.
So this is saying 50, but this has MAXX Crosby's contract on it, and Tyler Linderbaum's. So I think they can absorb MAXX Crosby back in. So if now you get MAXX Crosby back in, the Raiders are maybe saying, hey, you know what? We can go out and maybe sign a couple other pieces here. And if Fernando Mendoza ends up being a fucking dude, maybe we're back to competing very quickly because they have a ton of money and Max is a huge piece that now they're not losing.
Yeah. I can't remember a time in following the NFL where I've seen this happen, especially like right down to the wire. Looking again on ESPN, the actual story that they have up right now is just that they announced Tuesday night that they have backed out of their trade agreement, and it was the Raiders, again, are the ones who are announcing that the Ravens have backed out. So nothing from the Ravens front yet. No further details provided in the Raiders announcement. Nothing else out there. So probably rampant speculation. We're speculating already as to why this would go down. It's very, very interesting. And I feel like it has probably changed the logic for a lot of the moves that these teams have been making. And not just these two, but we know that other teams were involved in attempting to go out there and get MAXX Crosby. It seemed like The Bears were making moves to possibly do it. The Lions were possibly doing it. The Cowboys, the Patriots, everyone was kind of posturing to try to throw their hat in the ring. And obviously the 2 first-round picks from the Ravens is what won out. You're probably going to have a whole bunch of people now that are like, hey, we started to make some moves in free agency because we couldn't get this guy. And now he's maybe re-available to us. So maybe they already moved on. Maybe they're in a spot where now they want to throw their hat back in the ring. We'll see. Probably a lot. Look, it is evening time right now. It is 5:20 in Arizona. I know it's after 8 o'clock out there for you. The free agency period doesn't stop. It goes on overnight. There's probably a lot of agents and a lot of executives for teams right now who are turning their cars around and driving it back into the office to be like, hold the fuck up. What is going on?
Yeah, this has changed the entire landscape of NFL free agency. This is the only thing everybody's going to be talking about, because now any team that was looking at free agents and had edge rusher as a potential look at need, now you're thinking, okay, can we give up an asset and go get MAXX Crosby? They already agreed to it once. So this is going to change the way everybody begins to approach their free agency. Obviously, a lot of deals have been agreed to, but there's no telling now that a lot of deals could be back. Like every once in a while, I feel like one a year we get a deal where they kind of agree, and then something happens where the contract, the language doesn't get worked out, and they don't end up signing with that team. They end up signing with somebody else. That seems like it's almost a normal thing, one a year. But this level of deal falling through is fucking absurd. So yeah, everybody would have to think, okay, it's time to get back in the MAXX Crosby mix.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I was geared up to talk about, my Vikings possibly looking at trading Jonathan Grenard. That's been thrown out there. He wants a little bit more money. The team obviously needs more money, more cap space. And I've got comparisons of Jonathan Grenard versus MAXX Crosby, because this was like the new market, 2 first-round picks for this Crosby, and how Grenard's stats are not really that similar. I don't know what Grenard market as well, because you have MAXX Crosby back out there again. Possibly could get traded for something else. So, yeah, very wild times. Obviously, keep a watch on our social media pages. We will be posting and reposting anything that we hear about this as it goes along. And of course, if during the show we see anything else pop out, we will be all over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, crazy way to start the show. Whew. So with that, let's start talking some of the other free agent deals that have happened, because there have been obviously a ton of moves. Now I feel like everything that we say we have to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, because it can fall through. There's very clear proof of that, but you ready to get into that a little bit, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up what initially was starting to pop up on the screen here. And that's the thing, producer Amber, it absolutely, depending on why this trade went through or didn't go through now, why they backed out, it could make a lot of other teams hesitant, but it also could make a lot of other teams start to get aggressive with their offers.
Yeah, it is very dependent. Situations are situational. I can't fucking believe what's happening.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and we will kind of generally look through a lot of these teams and what they've done so far. This is PFF, so if it is not exactly up to date, it's not on me. Don't hate us, hate PFF people. However, I'm going to kind of look through all these. We'll throw out our thoughts as we go through on some of these signings. Obviously, there's been some pretty big ones. Yesterday was more explosive as far as the signings and things like that, though today just got pretty fucking wild. So Isaac Seumalo, Tyler Algier going to the Cardinals here, Kendrick Bourne, Roy Lopez, Gardner Minshew coming in to be the backup, and Matt Pryor were signed. Kyler Murray's listed on here as a release, though that release has not officially been announced by the team yet. It is just expected to happen at the new league year. Lots of kind of quarterback moves kind of going on with my team, which I know we have to talk about. Dalvin Tomlinson was released, Akeem Davis Gaither, and Bilal Nichols also released. I really like the Tyler Algier signing for this team because James Conner is a good back when he is healthy, but he is healthy less often these days, and he is getting older. We had conversations about Tyler Algier some through text as free agency was starting up. He's a bigger back, but he's always kind of been overshadowed by another back there in Atlanta. I think that he has the ability to be a workhorse guy in a lead role. So good signing there by Arizona, but this does seem like one of those franchises this year that is going to be setting itself up for, let's see how close we can get to our record that we had this previous year, so that way we can go after a quarterback, because you're walking in with Jacoby Brissett as the presumptive starter. Apparently the talks with Jimmy G hit a snag, is the quote that's going around, and won't be occurring. And then Gardner.
I'd rather have Jacoby, honestly. Yeah. I'd rather have Jacoby over fucking Jimmy G.
Yeah, LaFleur has experience with Jimmy G from the Rams, but I do like what Brissett brings. He is like your perfect bridge quarterback for a new guy. The problem is that Brissett's contract ends after this year, which a bridge quarterback, usually you want your new guy, a rookie presumptively, to be in-house already learning behind Brissett. That's not going to be the case unless he does get some sort of an extension. Any other thoughts here on the Cardinals signings?
No, man, I really like the Tyler Algier signing because I like him as a back. We were talking about him earlier. He is just a younger version of David Montgomery. Like, he is that type of guy. He runs really hard between the tackles. There's another guy that's typically always there, more of a scat back out of the backfield type guy. Tyler Algier is that dude. He can be a lead back. He's not going to be huge game breaker, but he is solid fucking 4 yards a carry, like between the tackles, go get you the yards you need. And obviously the Kyler Murray news. I don't think that anybody was overly shocked. We were talking like, is there a trade going to happen? Fuck no. Nobody was going to trade for Kyler because everybody knew that this was going to be the result. So no reason to give up any draft capital. You can give Kyler Murray that minimum now to bring him in probably to the Vikings and have him compete with Kyler Murray, but 6 inches taller than JJ McCarthy.
That's the thing, is a lot of people were saying, well, why haven't the Cardinals announced his release yet, even if they're still trying to work on a potential trade? Because Geno Smith's deal was restructured by the Raiders prior to him being traded, which basically put him in the same situation as he would be if he was released tomorrow. The Raiders are carrying all of that money. He'll sign with the offset language for $1.3 million tomorrow, or the trade happens and it's still just the $1.3 million going on to the Jets books. But Kyler Murray still is under contract through 2027. The numbers don't work out. They have to presumptively release him tomorrow with a post-June 1st designation. You can't release him today with a post-June 1st designation. So they're still probably trying to work out a trade, but no one's going to want to trade for him. The biggest thing they can do is hold on to him past the new league year tomorrow with the intent of doing a future post-June 1st designation, but still hoping that they can try to strong-arm someone into a 7th-round pick or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody's going to give up even a conditional fucking 7th-round pick for him at this point. So I would not be worried about it.
Yep. All right. So we have tons of Atlanta Falcon fans who love to watch us. This will be a fun one to go over here. Kyle Pitts gets that franchise tag. Obviously, he's been doing better and better every year he's been in the league. However, the big news, they bring in a recently released Tua Tagovailoa. What a wild chain of events for this team to bring in Kirk Cousins, to draft Penix, to then release Cousins presumptively and bring in a Tua Tagovailoa to be the at least short-term starter. I'm not talking about just his height. You've got a quarterback with no knees and another quarterback that has a plate of scrambled eggs in his head. Just wild stuff. You thought that terrible Terry Fontenot leaving the Falcons would change things up, but apparently not. At least not completely. I get it. They need someone in there because I doubt Penix is going to be ready to go right away. And Tua has shown to be able to put up some volume, but man, like, just the stories write themselves here with Tua.
Just wait until the Falcons decide to give the Browns a draft pick so they can get Dillon Gabriel to back up Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah,
that's gonna fucking hit like crack, dude. I'm gonna laugh so fucking hard when Kevin Stefanski trades for Dillon Gabriel and Tua is backed up by Dillon Gabriel because Michael Penix, his robot legs will have fucking malfunctioned at some point.
Yeah. Other moves that they made, they brought in wide receivers Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus. Zaccheaus previously had been there before, and he tends to be like a solid number 3 type of guy. Jahan Dotson's definitely dropped considerably, from his original pick status. So a couple of guys there. Austin Hooper is a solid number 2 tight end for them. And then punter Jake Bailey comes in. They also released Darnell Mooney so far this free agency. No moves there on the defensive side, which is a questionable thing to me as well. Kind of leans towards the Falcons going defense heavy in the draft. I'm surprised that they didn't go after. And look, the things haven't solidified yet. Obviously, we were still in tampering period. But you've got a defensive end in James Pierce, who knows if this guy's going to play football again based off of some of the legal issues that he has going on. But you drafted him in the first round last year. It's going to leave a big hole there. Pass rush has been an issue pretty consistently. So to not go out there, there's a decent amount of free agents still available, like Trey Hendrickson and things like that, that just to, list the top one.
And they don't have a first round pick.
Yeah. You could go out there and kind of try to solidify that spot. And look, let's say James Pierce, everything is dropped and he does come back. And you also have Trey Hendrickson on your roster. That's a good situation to be in. So interesting, they haven't made any defensive moves. And obviously Tua kind of spotlights this free agent class so far.
I just can't wait. Dillon Gabriel, conditional 7th round pick. He's all yours. And I'm excited to talk about the next team and the very first thing that's on the board there.
Yeah. Again, MAXX Crosby
traded
for by the Ravens. And then that has now fallen through. Wild turn of events there. Obviously, if you missed the beginning of our show, we've been heavy deep into the MAXX Crosby trade. That is no more, as the Ravens have backed out of that trade. Wild stuff happening there. Again, John Simpson signed as a guard, and they re-signed Tyler Huntley. Very quiet for the Ravens so far.
Well, I don't think they anticipated doing a whole lot. I think their big splash move was that they were going to trade for MAXX Crosby, which is wild that they're the ones that backed out of the trade for MAXX Crosby. So I don't know where the Ravens are planning on going. They have a brand new head coach. I mean, Lamar Jackson,
defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson's been all over the media recently, and I don't have a problem with that. Where is this team headed? Feels like not in a great direction, which is great for me as a Browns fan. But I mean, this Max not going there is insane, and everything else, I don't know what this is. Just small little moves for a team that drastically underperformed.
I'm double checking my phone just to see if anything else has come out. Nothing new so far on the Twitter sphere that I can find out there. Look, this bringing in MAXX Crosby made a ton of sense for the Ravens for the simple fact that they have been known by this defense for so long. And it's probably one of the reasons why you bring in a defensive head coach to kind of reset that. But you look at them last year and they were mid in the league, if not bottom third of the league in pass rush. So, of course, you go out there and you get a guy like MAXX Crosby, who is not just going to increase that pass rush. It's going to help the secondary, all that stuff. So now you have to go back to the drawing boards. They seriously have to look at ways to increase this pass rush again. Guys that are out there, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to make some sort of a strong move for Trey Hendrickson, just because like your offseason was really revolving now around this trade that is no more.
Yeah. Suck at Baltimore. You ready to move on to the Bills?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bills, they started off by trading for DJ Moore. They re-signed Connor McGovern, and D. Alford was brought in along with an extension to Dawson Knox. They did trade off Taron Johnson, which again, we'll see what happens with that going to the Raiders. Curtis Samuels was also released, and Taylor Rapp. The DJ Moore signing to me, or excuse me, trade was pretty interesting as well, because DJ Moore was kind of relegated to almost like a third wide receiver role on that Bears team. People knew that he was going to probably be cut or traded. And the Bills were very, very adamant about, being happy with their wide receiver room. Brandon Bean was all, we don't need more receiver. Like, y'all know what you're doing. And then they immediately go out there and they're starting to make moves for a receiver. But I like it for Josh Allen to get another good receiver out there, but DJ Moore's kind of been on the decline for a little bit. People talk a lot about, Caleb Williams taking steps and everything in Chicago, but those steps were taken despite DJ Moore being there. It was Luther Burden, it was Colston Loveland. It was the other pieces that they have around there that were benefiting from it and not really DJ Moore. So for them to give up a second round pick for him, I thought was a pretty gross overpay.
So I don't hate the trade. And I don't know that a second is a gross overpay. DJ Moore, I think, while sure his production has slipped, I think that had more to do with the fact that a coaching change also happened. I think he fell out of favor very quickly with this new coaching staff. Because DJ Moore, a couple years ago, looked pretty fucking good, was like a prime target and was having, big games. A couple years ago, Caleb Williams had big games. But when Ben Johnson came in, you saw that he was kind of relegated to farther down on the depth chart. I think DJ Moore is still a pretty decent player. Is he a true number one? No. Is he a solid number two? Yeah. Is that better than everything else the fucking Bills had? Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, Shakir's a good receiver. He's a number two, but he's a slot. So DJ Moore, I feel like, is a good trade. And with the way that fucking contracts are going for wide receivers and the price tag, getting DJ Moore for a second is not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, you would love to do it for a third, but I wouldn't consider it like a crazy overpay. I just think that DJ Moore did not fit at all with Ben Johnson.
With the cap that DJ Moore is being paid, with his drop off in production, the injuries, I mean, he was really one of the centerpieces, the cruxes around that Chicago Bears fall off in the playoffs, some bad juju around him. I thought a third was like the max pick that we're talking about there. So I feel like it's a bit much. But obviously Bills need more receiver help. Josh Allen needs more receiver help. Lots of talk about, is the window closing up there? We've said it once before, a couple of years ago, that the window might be closing. Then they kicked the door down, and now things are still kind of questionable to me. We'll see what this new coaching staff and everything is able to do in Buffalo. Next up, Carolina Panthers. They have brought in big time signing edge Jalen Phillips on a $120 million 4-year deal. Also get Devin Lloyd, Kenny Pickett to be the backup there, and Luke Fortner was just signed today. One of the top centers still left on the market to a very inexpensive deal there. The $4.75 million for a 1-year deal for Luke Fortner is something that I will be upset that my Vikings didn't go after, now that we kind of have a center spot open with Ryan Kelly retiring. But that being said, big signing there of Jalen Phillips. Very expensive contract, $30 million a year for this guy who has been good, but not fantastic in my opinion. It just kind of goes to show you, as this cap continues to go up, guys are going to be getting these big contracts at premium positions like edge rusher.
Well, and the Panthers, I think, are doing a good job of attacking the defensive side of the ball. They have got to find a way to improve that defense. obviously, I think that they're going to attack the offensive side of the ball in the draft. There are a couple of things that they could potentially look at. Offensive line. I know receiver has been talked about for them as well. And this is a great wide receiver draft. So I like the signing of the defensive guys going in to help him fortify that defense. And Kenny Pickett is just nothing more than a backup. Andy Dalton is no longer there. So
I was going to say, is Dalton not there anymore?
No, he's not there anymore.
So producer Amber coming in hot, and we're checking the Twitter here. MAXX Crosby failed his physical. Medical issues are being cited as the reason why the trade is no longer going through. So part of what's going on there is now kind of been figured out. Yeah, that's absolutely going to change the market. Some teams might feel better about the medicals. Some teams might not. You had MAXX Crosby at the end of the year being pretty damn upset about kind of being benched for the tank job. This flips the script on that. The Raiders might have been making the right move to not play him.
Yeah, they absolutely were making the right move, it sounds like, because they could have won those games. And he failed the fucking physical. Like, gee, man, that's okay. So that changes a lot because now you're getting 2 first-round picks for him. You can't trade him at all unless you can get a team doctor or whoever to sign off on it. So you have got to reabsorb that contract of MAXX Crosby and hope that you can get him healthy and that the relationship has not been fractured so much that it just won't work, because you could end up paying MAXX Crosby a lot of fucking money for nothing, because he could easily now go and get surgery and do whatever and sit out, completely get paid because he failed the physical. Like this completely changes everything. The Raiders are fucked right now. Real quick in here, Dave, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you hopping in here. And they run a Discord over there at Great North Sports. Apparently, there's a lot of shit in there to do that does quite a bit of gambling in there. So we might want to hop in there and say hello.
Absolutely.
I don't know much about the Discord, but Dave's a good dude. He can probably teach me a lot about it. Dave is our new Canadian friend who I got to meet at Indianapolis. But yeah, anyways, brother, Panthers, I like what they're doing on the defensive side.
Yeah. Another note about MAXX Crosby there. One thing to consider, some teams fail people on medicals. Other teams will be okay with
Correct.
it. It really depends on why the Ravens failed him on the medical. Crosby was very adamant about being able to play at the end of the year. It's possible that the Ravens just aren't comfortable with whatever it is. See, it could be a recurring issue, something like that. Another team might be willing to take the risk on it. So I don't think the market is over if they still want to try to trade him. That being said, if he comes back to the Raiders have been his team doctors for the entire time he's been there. They are tracking what's going on. They obviously thought things were good enough for this trade to go through. So they probably would feel comfortable enough with having to play him again. And I say having to play him like it's a bad thing. Getting a MAXX Crosby on your team is a damn good thing. But it'll be interesting to see if that trade market picks up at all, or if other reports of why exactly he failed the medical come out. Obviously, that's a little more HIPAA and stuff like that, but people don't really give a shit about that when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah, people don't care about the players of the NFL at all. They're basically not people. We should do better and treat them.
Yeah. All right, next up, Chicago Bears. So Drew Dahlman, Bears starting center that they just brought in last year, calls it quits, decides to retire at the age of 28, which if anyone is trashing the guy for doing that, go fuck yourself. Players are putting themselves first, putting their health first in a lot of cases right now. Yeah, he just got a lot of money, but obviously it's not an easy decision to hang him up. I doubt he was just one day like, I'm done. Like, this probably was something that he had to sit down with his family, talk over, make the decision to call it a career and retire. So best of luck to him. However, that kind of pivots what the Bears need to do. They go out there, they trade for center Garrett Bradbury from the New England Patriots. I'm obviously very familiar with Garrett Bradbury from his time in Minnesota. he was a league average type of center who's pretty light in the ass and is easy to get bull rushed over. He was a good center for that Patriots team last year, whose offensive line was not too great to begin with. But they felt like he was able to be moved. Now he's a Bear. I'm super cool with that because I do know that Garrett Bradbury is a mid center who is light in the ass, who can be bull rushed over. So I don't think great safety Kobe Bryant from the Seahawks. Where was it? The Rams? I can't remember which. I think he was with the Seahawks, right?
Kobe Bryant was with the Seahawks, yes.
Yeah. Devin Bush at linebacker, Neville Gallimore, DeMarco Jackson, Khalif Raymond at wide receiver, and they re-signed tackle Braxton Jones. A lot of defense on the side of the ball. The offense was pretty good last year, and the defense is what needed fixing. So that makes sense that they were going out there, going after some bigger name guys. Jaquan Brisker not coming back, a free agent right now, so it makes sense for them to bring Kobe Bryant a little bit younger. And Devin Bush obviously has kind of had a bit of a career resurgence, has done some good things. So bringing him in is solid for them. I don't think that they fixed their defensive line issues with Neville Gallimore, their pass rush issues. So expect them to still be looking heavily towards that with the continuation of free agency, but definitely going into the draft.
Yeah. So real quick, producer Amber, is it just me or is Evo like glitching out like a motherfucker? Okay. So that is happening. All right, cool. So by the way,
just the video or audio?
Both at times. I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes it's just the video, and sometimes when you hear me go, it's both.
Oh. Well, StreamYard's not giving me any warnings or anything,
Okay.
So who knows what's going on.
So listen, Kobe Bryant, good player. Devin Bush, good player. Devin Bush, I'm very sad that he is now going to be a Cleveland Brown next year. He was great for us. Was a great scheme fit for what Schwartz wanted to do. So Schwartz not being here, probably why he's not going to be back. But listen, the Bears were really good. They had a ton of turnovers generated last year. They're going to have to find a way to have a high-performing defense again, going out and attacking that with the free agency on the defensive side of the ball, I think is a really good idea, especially when you can get guys that have proven to be really good at turning other teams over in Devin Bush and Kobe Bryant. So I think good signings. The Khalif Raymond signing, I think, is interesting. Like, why bring in another guy when you already were moving off of DJ Moore because you have other dudes that can replace him? I feel like a Khalif Raymond signing, unless you're bringing him in to be a return man for you, is just kind of a waste. You can get a receiver in this draft in the fucking 4th round that's as good as Khalif Raymond.
So Khalif Raymond obviously has ties with Ben Johnson from their time in Detroit. So someone that he knows that he can lean on easily. Also, $5.1 million for this guy is a pretty inexpensive contract for a guy who's going to be playing your 3rd or 4th wide receiver role. He's got special teams utility. So it's a bit of a safety blanket. Also, you do have to consider the fact that no one stays healthy through the whole year. So having a guy there that in times when there has been injuries in Detroit, he's stepped in well, is a pretty solid move in my opinion for a relatively inexpensive price.
Yeah, I get it. Drew Dahlman, hey brother, good career. Listen, take care of your body. You got always protect the what the hell did Marshawn Lynch say? Protect the chickens or whatever the fuck it was.
Something like that. All right.
You said
now,
so many
the Browns are up here on the screen, but we're going with the Bengals first. All right. Bengals signed safety Brian Cook to a big deal. Edge Boye Mafe and Dalton Reisner was a re-signing as well to help solidify that line. They brought in 2 solid players. Boye Mafe was a decent rotational piece up there in Seattle. Brian Cook, also very solid safety. Doesn't really matter who they brought in as long as they brought in defensive pieces because this defense sucks ass up in Cincinnati. So good job to focus there on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know how much money they really have to work with as far as bringing in other people, though. I would expect them to still be heavily leaning towards defensive assets into the draft.
So right now, SportsTrack has them at 30 million in cap space. So they still have some room to go out there and make some signings. But yeah, they have got to improve that defense. We've been saying for forever, defense and then the offensive line. Those are the two things that have destroyed that Bengals team and almost have destroyed Joe Burrow's fucking career. The injuries have piled up. And when you score 40 and fucking lose, it is demoralizing as shit.
Yeah. Joe Burrow, big winner from this MAXX Crosby news that just came out.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Your Cleveland Browns up next. They obviously made the trade for Titus Howard. Looks to be probably a right tackle, though I've heard some talks of like, could he flip to the left side as well? And you guys did give him an extension. You obviously have been focusing on that offensive line, which is depleted right now. But you have Zion Johnson coming in. You guys signed Elgin Jenkins today, who's played all across the offensive line for the Packers, most recently as a center, and has done pretty good when he's been there, though he's got a little bit of injury history. And then Quincy Williams coming in at linebacker, and you guys did re-sign Tevin Jenkins. Your thoughts on the move so far here from your Cleveland Browns?
This is a lot of gross overpays in my mind for some of these offensive linemen. Zion Johnson is an okay player. If you can't run block and figure out how to do it at a high efficiency with Harbaugh as your coach, I have very serious doubts that you're going to figure out how to run block somewhere else. So that worries me a little bit. Same thing with Titus Howard. Also, none of these guys are good at run blocking. If you look at their PFF grades, you will see that they all graded out decently in their pass grades, shitty in their run grades. But honestly, like if you go and watch them, it's there's a lot of potential that could be there, but it's not translating. You have guys that are big that should be like really run grader type personalities and Tevin Jenkins and fucking Zion Johnson, and they're just not. So I will be very happy that we can hopefully protect Schefter, but I'm worried that we're not going to be able to run the ball very well with these guys. However, we had to sign somebody. I mean, at this point, we have two guards now under contract. Joel Bitonio, we do not know if he is coming back or not. This makes me think that Joel is probably leaning retirement and has let the Browns know that. That's why they've gone out and made these moves to go and get guards that can start. This is kind of setting up for the Browns draft a tackle in the first round, and they draft a wide receiver in the first round. Makes a lot of sense to me, and then we'll have not a ton of rookies on the line. If it doesn't work, I don't know. We'll see. We are rebuilding a line. I just hope they can run block.
That's the thing, man. You do still have DeJuan Jones there. You bring in two, like all these guys are starters or fringe starters. Now, are they all top tier? No, not by any means. But you guys didn't really have anything there to begin with. So you needed to make these moves. You will be able to put out a mostly veteran offensive line. Obviously, that was going to be a need in the draft, but talked about this in the past. You don't want to go out there with multiple rookies along that offensive line. You don't want to go out there, especially with multiple rookies starting next to one another on that offensive line. This does spread out the amount of veterans that you have, create a bit of a veteran room. I personally think that starting more than one rookie on the offensive line is a recipe for failure, because out of all the different position groups in the NFL, the offensive line, they all need to be in lockstep. They all need to be able to know what's going on. You have one, failure along that line and everyone else can kind of falter. but having veterans around rookies who are going to have those missteps is going to severely mitigate that. So they needed to go out there and make these moves. And who knows, maybe you guys swing some sort of a crazy deal for Trent Williams because he is on the trade block as well, because it seems like the 49ers can't get a new deal done with this guy. And I'm sure you would love a big old Trent Williams along the left side out there in Cleveland.
I would love Trent Williams, but he would be here for a year, and it would be to just collect a fucking paycheck, because even if we bring in Trent Williams, are we really ready to compete? Like, Trent Williams is going to want to compete because that's what he's looking for. If he's going to stay with the 49ers, he wants paid a lot because his body's being destroyed by a power substation, or he wants to be traded to a fucking team that he can try to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know that he would enjoy it.
Oh, he wouldn't at all.
You know, in a trade,
and Andrew Berry, I don't think, would give up assets for a damn near 40-year-old tackle.
Well, he's done some crazier things in the past.
That's very true. He gave him fucking 3 first-round picks and a fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, Dallas Cowboys. They obviously placed the franchise tag on George Pickens, a really good receiver there. They also signed Jalen Thompson at safety, traded for Rashawn Gary, and signed a punter in PJ Locke. Rashawn Gary was a high draft pick. Hasn't really worked out in Green Bay. He's had years where it looks like he starts to put things together, but having seen him year in and year out since he went there to Green Bay, I thought he was overrated in the draft. I thought he has been average to below average most of his time there. A piece, but not a great piece. And so him going to the Dallas Cowboys is probably a good thing for them, a good cutoff point for Rashawn Gary and his career there with Green Bay to hopefully see if a new system can help him out there. And then Jalen Thompson is a solid starter level safety for them. So obviously focusing a little bit there on the defensive side of the ball, which is something that the Cowboys desperately need.
Yeah.
And who knows? Go out there and trade for a MAXX Crosby now.
Maybe. They can't do that right now. So SportsTrack currently has him at $15 million over the cap. So they're going to, before the new league year, I believe they're going to have to be cap compliant. So they're going to have to make a move somewhere, restructure somebody doing something to get everything right, so all these moves can happen. But bringing George Pickens back is, I think, a really good idea. They will more than likely get a long-term deal done, change the cap numbers there, and that will help alleviate some of this cap space number that the Cowboys are currently dealing with.
Yeah. And then as far as releases and departures, they have nothing listed here, but Dak Prescott singles, lady. He's single, so called off the wedding.
Oh, no.
So there's a departure from the Cowboys family. Denver Broncos up next. They re-signed J.K. Dobbins, which I was a little bit surprised about. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins, high potential player there, but obviously
$10 million is the surprising part.
Very surprising in this running back market. They also put their tender on Jaquan McMillan, extended Alex, excuse me if I don't pronounce this correct, Palzewski, something like that. Re-signed Justin Snod and extended Adam Troutman, re-signed Alex Singleton, a lot of in-house people. They also released Dre Greenlaw there, but they basically just kept guys in-house or guys who were set to hit the market, brought them back. So Denver Broncos really have not been active at all this free agency period.
Yeah, and I don't know that they will be too active. Let me double check their number here. So they got a little bit of money. They got $16 million. They were obviously very good and made the playoffs. I think they're really looking forward to the draft. They are probably going to try to. I know we see Adam Troutman re-signed. I would not be surprised if they go out and try to add another tight end or another piece. Obviously, they are looking to keep guys that they like around, giving J.K. Dobbins $10 million a year. I like him as a back, but can he stay healthy? Who knows? Dre Greenlaw, good piece that's going to be out there on the open market now. I think he can be a really good linebacker in this league still. Just it's the injury. Can he get back to that old level where he used to be? that injury was pretty bad.
Yeah. Look, lots of talk about the Joker tight end role there in Denver. And obviously, Kenny Sadiq going into this draft is considered the top tight end. You also have other tight ends who are extremely athletic in this draft. It's an interesting tight end draft, but those are the kind of the two pieces I think that they would look for. If they don't feel like hoping that Sadiq gets to them, they could obviously go out there and still make a signing in this free agency period. Your guy, David Njoku, kind of fits that role for him, and he's still out there available. With the cap space that they have, especially if it's a little bit of a longer deal, you backload it a little bit. That's a guy that they could still be looking to bring in there. But as of right now, Denver Broncos have been pretty quiet as far as bringing in anyone externally. Next up, Detroit Lions. So David Montgomery gets traded down to Houston. Seems like a pretty decent fit there. Joe Mixon's time is over with the Houston Texans. Now David Montgomery gets to be the thunder to a different type of lightning out there, not the same as a Jahmyr Gibbs by any means, but Marks has a little bit of speed to him, I suppose. They also bring in center Cade Mays, who is a solid average center, I think better than Garrett Bradbury, so good signing there for them. They also bring in Isaiah Pacheco today to fill that thunder role that David Montgomery is leaving. So Pacheco, interesting signing. I kind of like it. I think that he fits that Dan Campbell mentality for him. And Jahmyr Gibbs is always going to be the guy there. They did trade for Juice Scruggs as well, all-time NFL player name, but kind of a mid guy as far as backup level ability. And they re-signed Rock Yassin. Also, Taylor Decker asked for a release. So more offensive line turnover there for the Detroit Lions, along with Graham Glasgow being released. So lots of turnover along that offensive line, which was a huge problem for them last year.
Yeah, they will be looking to attack the offensive line probably in the draft. I don't know. They don't have fucking dick for salary cap space. $5.5 million right now is what they have. The Isaiah Pacheco signing is weird to me because I don't think he is at all like a David Montgomery type of back. Like, I don't think that he fills the role of David Montgomery really at all. Unless you're just waiting for somebody to run right into the back of his own fucking guard as fast as he can. I mean, then Pacheco's got you.
Look, they needed a secondary option to Gibbs there.
Sure.
You could do a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do a lot worse.
Watch, he's going to have a great year this year. Green Bay Packers.
He might have a great one. I just don't see it.
Yeah. So obviously they traded for Zaire Franklin at linebacker. They extended Sean Ryan as an offensive lineman, played a lot of tackle and whatnot for them. And then they also signed Benjamin St-Juste, who's a solid nickel cornerback type option there for him. But they released Elgin Jenkins, who's now a Brown. Rashawn Gary was traded. Nate Hobbs was released, and defensive lineman Colby Wooden was released. So Green Bay Packers really not bringing in a whole lot there of note. I don't think Zaire Franklin is a big get for them. He, recently played for the Colts, has kind of been trending downwards more recently. So I don't think that he's as big of a get for them as some might think, just because you recognize the name. Not a whole lot of movement here for the Green Bay Packers right now.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty typical of the Packers. They're not a big free agency team. They don't necessarily go out and sign a bunch of big name guys. Every once in a while it'll happen. But this is kind of their MO. They traded a couple of guys that I don't, that's kind of surprising to me. And I guess the Browns will take the scraps of Jenkins.
Look, Jenkins, when healthy, is a very solid center and a very solid offensive line. He played all across that offensive line. Coming from someone who's played the Packers a lot, he's above average at worst. The problem is the injury concerns. So
that's our whole line, bro. We can't have our entire line like, you know what? If this guy's healthy, he's pretty good. The problem is he's never fucking healthy.
Yeah. And we'll get to the Patriots here in a little bit, but another name, Romeo Doubs, formerly obviously of the Green Bay Packers, did sign with the Patriots today. Reports are that it's a 4-year, $80 million deal, which blows my mind. I need to put on Romeo Dobbs' guardian cap because for a guy that can't stay on the field because he's always concussed, I think that he's a solid number 2 to maybe number 3 receiver. But, you can't make the club if you're in the tub. And not to make light of concussions, but this guy is always concussed. So that's a huge, amount of money to go towards a receiver like that, in my opinion. Another guy.
$1 million for Romeo Dobbs is a little wild.
Yeah. All right, Houston Texans. Their offensive line is good, right?
Apparently.
Right?
They re-signed a couple guys and traded a couple. Dude, they have been active as shit.
Yeah. So obviously traded for David Montgomery there. They extended to Neil Hunter, gave him a nice little payday. Re-signed Ed Ingram, who PFF, God bless you. Your ratings are high on him, but he's still same issues. The most pressures allowed on that line. And he was one of their better linemen last year. But by all means, go ahead and re-sign Ed Ingram. Braden Smith brought in pretty solid tackle coming from the Colts organization, so that'll help them out there. They also re-signed Sheldon Rankins and Reed Blankenship coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles. That defense continues to bring in pieces. I like that signing for them. Dalton Schultz was extended. Trent Brown all re-signed, providing a little bit of tackle stability, and they extended Kaimi Fairbairn. I believe that now makes him the highest paid kicker in the league.
For now. So until one dude gets his $10 million a year. Oh my God. She keeps, I see it. All right, producer Amber, I see it.
Yeah.
She
and look, I'm not updating the PFF as we go along, but Texans did sign
Logan Hall has also been signed. Thank you, producer Amber. Listen, the David Montgomery thing that's a great fucking trade for them. Getting in a legit back, I think, will be huge. They still need to get better offensive linemen. I'm fucking Ed Ingram getting 37.5 is wild. But you know what? More power to him. Good job, Ed.
Yeah. All right. Next up, the Colts. They did re-sign Alec Pierce to a fucking bonkers deal. Sorry, in my opinion, this is outrageous. I like Alec Pierce. I think that he's a good piece. Maybe he can develop into more than the deep downfield threat. But that's basically what he's been, and you're giving him top 10 wide receiver money now to become something different. And because of that, you did have to move on from wide receiver Michael Pittman, who's been steady Eddie with that team forever. You trade him for peanuts over to the Pittsburgh Steelers because now you're going to have to worry about money issues. Daniel Jones is transition tagged, which means that it's $37.8 million going to him. Other teams can offer up contracts and negotiate with him to try to get him for more. Apparently, he turned down a deal somewhere around 50 mil, 100 mil total, but something around 50 mil a year from the Colts. It sounded like Daniel Jones might be getting a little greedy there, in my opinion. However, if that's the case, I don't expect any other teams to negotiate with him for that sort of a price tag. So he will probably be back there with the Colts next year once this transition tag kind of fully takes effect. Arden Key was also signed in there as an edge rusher for them, and they did obviously make that trade where they got Colby Wooden and sent Zaire Franklin packing. Not a whole lot of moves here for the Colts. The one big move that they made was bringing in Alex Pierce, added an ungodly number, and saying bye-bye to Michael Pittman, which to me, if you're trying to keep Daniel Jones happy and wanting to stay there, maybe not the best move. Alex Pierce, again, nice piece, but not at that number, in my opinion. I'd rather have let him walk and keep Michael Pittman personally.
Same as they retained the wrong wide receiver. Michael Pittman is the better wide receiver. And like especially at that fucking number.
That's the thing is, like, Pittman isn't young, but he's steady. He's a good receiver. Alec Pierce is a good receiver, and he's younger. And maybe he's got more to him, but right now he's kind of that deep ball guy. And again, maybe he develops into more. We'll see. But Tyler Warren show out there in Indy.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Tyler Warren because he might be playing quarterback if somebody fucks over the Colts with a Daniel Jones contract.
It's true, and he can do it. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars, super quiet. Just resigned one guy, Monteric Brown, who was a guy that I thought is a pretty good value. He's, rated pretty well through PFF. He's been a solid contributor for this team, and they bring him in there for 3 years, $33 million. Done nothing else so far yet, though. They have had some guys that have departed that aren't even shown on here. Travis Etienne being one of them. So not a whole lot going on for the Jaguars so far.
Yeah, I don't know much, if anything, about Monteric Brown, so I can't really speak on it. But they're gonna have to find a way to. Is Basil Tootin gonna be their new lead back? Is that the intent, or are they gonna go out and look to add a piece? Listen, I thought Basil looked good at times, but he really feels like a change of pace back more than anything.
Yeah, I don't think that he's the type of guy that you want to be your lead back. But it is what it is. He's the lead guy there now.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
All right. Kansas City Chiefs. Crazy. They got my guy. They got Kenneth Walker on a 3-year, $40 million deal. $14.3 million. Good deal for Kenneth Walker. Understand him leaving, going to a team with Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of sense. And I don't think that number is egregious for him, because I think that he's a very, very good running back. It's something that they desperately needed. Bigger news for them, too, as well as Travis Kelce decided that he is going to come back, play another year. So they just toss him another $12 million there. Alohi Gilman, pretty solid safety, brought in as well, along with Vikings legend Kyrus Tonga, who then went to the Cardinals and then went to the Patriots. And now is with the Kansas City Chiefs, a solid rotational nose tackle. And they did re-sign Tyquan Thornton there. But bigger news otherwise, they traded Trent McDuffie away for a hell of a lot of money and picks, obviously, for them. But McDuffie gets a huge deal going to the Rams. Also, Jalen Warren, not listed up here, was also signed by the Rams. So they're just bringing over that Kansas City Chief defensive backcourt to LA. And then Jawan Taylor, the perennial flag, is also released by the Chiefs.
Yeah. So the Kenneth Walker signing is fantastic for the Chiefs. We have been talking about the Chiefs for the last 4+ years, needing to get a fucking running game going to be really good and consistent, and they'll be spectacular. Now, obviously, they have won in that time frame. I'm not fucking oblivious, but they've had to do it in a lot of different ways. With this running game potentially taking a nice step forward with Kenneth Walker, it's going to open up a lot of play calling opportunities for fucking Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That is going to be one of the best signings, I think, of all of free agency, the most impactful. And then obviously the Trent Duffy trade, Mick Duffy, sorry, not Trent Duffy. That's, I'm pretty sure the guy who directed Boondock Saints. But Trent McDuffie is a great piece. Rams are in fuck them picks mode. That'll give the Chiefs an opportunity to rebuild and kind of reset, reload, getting more picks, because they're not typically a team that picks very high. So they are in an opportunity now to pick possibly best player available. They don't have to go with a running back or something like that because they have a Kenneth Walker. They can get really aggressive and do something exciting at the top of the first round. So I think that is going to be that's one of the best signings so far.
Yeah, as we get through the draft and the rest of free agency with this Chiefs, I think they're going to be really interesting to talk about, because I have a lot of questions about this roster. I had questions about the roster last year. I might have more this year. I love the idea of bringing in a running back there, because getting a good, solid running game for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, absolutely necessary. And you brought in basically the best guy to do that. That being said, I still question that offensive line. You have a lot of questions at wide receiver. Travis Kelce is not who Travis Kelce used to be. And then on the defensive side of the ball, who's playing in your defensive backfield? You've lost your top 2 corners basically. Like it could be a rough year for the Chiefs unless they really start to hit on some draft picks. So there'll be an interesting one to kind of discuss going forward. Las Vegas Raiders, again, if you are under a rock, notice they did not trade MAXX Crosby anymore. It has been updated. MAXX Crosby currently a Las Vegas Raider because the Ravens decided to back out after a failed physical. But we already kind of went through this list on some of the guys. Tyler Linderbaum completely resetting the market. Huge amount of money for this guy. I don't think that it actually truly will reset that market. I think that they said we have a shitload of money to throw around and we're going to do it. And so they went out and got the best center out there, which makes a ton of sense. You're bringing in a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks need good centers to play behind to help them with protections and things like that and kind of ferry them into the league. Jalen Naylor, a guy that I really enjoyed playing for my Vikings. Sad to see him go. A good wide receiver signing for them there. And then they bring in some quality defensive players because they needed help all across that defense, especially with the thought that MAXX Crosby wasn't going to be there. Kwity Paye, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, and re-signing Malcolm Kuntz. All good moves. Trading for Taron Johnson. He is a solid cornerback, which they didn't have a ton of on that team. All solid moves by this Raiders team. One thing that I want people to keep in mind here, and I say this for all of free agency, some people are complaining, my team's not signing very many people, like we're not doing anything. You look at the teams that are making signings and big signings of big names, it's because they got money to throw around. And the reason why they got money to throw around usually is because your team is ass. You don't have anyone to pay. So they can go out there and pay for these bigger names. And I don't want to say more often than not, but a lot of times those contracts, when they're all said and done, people say, yeah, they shouldn't have paid that much because the player didn't live up to that contract. So free agency is good for getting your team right in certain areas and taking yourself a step above. And while I like pretty much all these moves that the Raiders made, they're gross overpays on most of them because they have the ability to do that. And
they have to do that.
Yeah, it takes this team a step higher for sure than where they were before. But as a long-term solution, you don't see teams like the Seattle Seahawks going out there and making egregious moves and huge signings. A lot of these teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, people are probably upset because they haven't done anything. The best way to build your team is through the draft. Like go out and get one or two guys here or there, and it's not fun as fans to sit back and watch all these big names go off the board in free agency. But the best way to build your team is through the draft. And the bad teams are the ones that usually have a shitload of money and go out here and make these moves. So just keep that in mind.
One of the more exciting moves that they have made here has nothing to do with them anymore, and it's Geno Smith. I'm excited for Geno to potentially get a chance to kind of show the people of New York that, you know what, I wasn't fucking complete. And my career was way better than you guys gave me credit for. But also, it feels like that Geno Smith is about to be set up to have one of the worst endings to a career because he started in New York. And it's going to end in New York.
It would be the most
going to go well.
It would be the most Jets thing to draft a quarterback, have him be ass, have him leave, be good, and bring him back and have him be ass. Yeah. If Geno Smith is anything like he was last year, then cool, you have someone to play quarterback there in New York. But the bigger thing with Geno to me is obviously that it kind of continues to shape the quarterback market. There's quarterback needy teams out there, not too many of them anymore. We haven't gotten to Malik Willis yet, but Malik Willis goes to the Dolphins. So that's figured out. Brissett and Gardner are with the Cardinals with the expectation that Kyler is going to be released. That's figured out. Your Browns aren't moving off of your quarterback situation. The Steelers are still have their balls in a vice from Aaron Rodgers and his indecisions. The options out there are dwindling for where quarterbacks can go and who would want to go where. And that'll end up being a conversation here shortly when we get to my Minnesota Vikings. With Geno going to New York, that takes just another chess piece off the board. Geno was someone that the Vikings had potentially been looking at. Jets knew that they probably were going to be, option number 2 or lower for Kyler. So they go out there and they make a move to make sure that they can get someone to come in and play quarterback in Geno Smith.
Hey, good luck, Geno. That's all I got. That's all I got for you, brother. Good luck. I hope it doesn't go the way I think it's going to go.
Yeah. All right. Chargers go out here. They re-sign Khalil Mack, bring in Tyler Biadasz, tight end Charlie Kohler. God damn. On a big deal. Cole Strange, the Strange Man, and fullback Alec Ingold, which, Alec Ingold, very solid fullback, had been playing there for Miami, knows Mike McDaniel, so obviously there's a connection. It shows that commitment to the run game for the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers are going to run the fucking ball. You can guarantee that. Alec Ingold is a good get. Khalil Mack coming back. Listen, he's going to stay around and be a rotational pass rusher for as long as he fucking can. I hope he can stay healthy. He was on a pretty good pace before the arm last year. So he's going to continue to be a pretty decent piece. They will more than likely continue to address the offensive side of the ball. And I got to imagine at some point they're going to try to find another weapon for Herbert.
Yep.
Maybe not here in free agency, maybe not in the trade market, but you've got to feel like that's on the docket here.
Yeah. LA Rams, fuck them picks. They trade for Trent McDuffie, a big trade haul, and then they extend him to a 4-year, $124 million deal. I like Trent McDuffie. I do think this is
31 a year.
A big contract for Trent McDuffie. Again, I really like him. Big contract for Trent McDuffie. They also bring in Jalen Watson on a 3-year, $51 million deal and re-signed Cameron Curl. So bringing in a whole bunch of defensive backs there. Look, the Rams think that they got what it takes on offense already. They probably know that the time with Stafford is short. They're getting aggressive now to try to make another push for a Super Bowl and reloading some of that defensive backfield. So obviously they have a very clear idea of what they want to do and are being hyper aggressive about it, going out there, making the trade and bringing in these defensive backs. I can't fault them if it works. We faulted them before for the fuck them picks mentality, and it's worked for them. So I can't fault them again.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're going for another Super Bowl because if this isn't Stafford's last year, it's got to be fucking close. And he's at the end of the rope, so yeah, go for it. And I'm here for it, man. That I like when the Rams are good and Stafford is good. I like McVay, so I'm all here. Jesus Christ, I can't talk now either. I'm here for it.
Yeah. All right, Miami Dolphins. One big move. Malik Willis. 3 years, $67.5 million. Now, there's been lots of talks on our shows and other shows. Is he really worth bringing in as a now starting quarterback? For the number they got him at, 3 years, 67.5, I think that's pretty reasonable. It's not starter money by any means. It is below starter money for the most part. You're hedging your bets a little bit. He goes to a situation with coaches and front office staff that he knows. No state income tax. Like it's good for everyone involved there in Miami. Do I think that Malik can be good? Yes. Am I sure of it? Hell no. Because super small sample size. They're really betting on some of the stuff that they saw there in Green Bay. And look, Green Bay now just let their best quarterback walk out the door as far as I'm concerned. So one move there for the Dolphins. Lots of people released. They are having to deal with a crazy cap situation when it comes down to the Tua contract.
Yeah, so the Malik Willis thing is all well and fine. But it's the bottom. The releases and departures is where the fucking storyline is here for the Dolphins. This is a tank. We've seen them try to do this before, and it got them in maybe a little bit of hot water with their head coach your current defensive coordinator, but they are in full-on tank mode again. Now, which is surprising that they gave Malik Willis 3 years, but you got to move off of Tua. You move off of Tyreek. You fucking trade Minka. You release Matt. Like, all of these guys you just gave fucking money to. They are $6 million over the cap. What the fuck are they going to do? How the fuck are they going to field the team? Is the way I feel right now. But I know what they're going to do. They're going to pull dudes off the fucking street, and they're going to be like, guess what? We want you to suck. They're going to be they're going to be taking bus rides across the country in a little dolphin bus instead of a fucking plane. That's how much they're going to want them to lose.
Do they have a Joe Boo that they're going to bring along with them?
I mean, there will be some sort of mascot for sure. I can only imagine the mascots that could be found around Miami.
Yeah. All right. My Minnesota Vikings, we have been relatively quiet here. We re-signed Eric Wilson, who had a phenomenal year for us last year. I think the number's perfectly fine on that. It's basically a 2-year deal. You're paying a guy just a little over $10 million per year on a 2-year deal, even though it's 3 years, but the way that the guarantees work out, it's basically a 2-year deal. And then we bring in James Pierce, the number 2 rated cornerback on PFF last year. Now, this wasn't limited playing time, of course. There's always obviously context with that. But a solid signing, a big body guy. Makes a lot of sense because Brian Flores spent some time in Pittsburgh with this guy. Also, our new defensive backs coach was the defensive backs coach for the Steelers prior to coming here to Minnesota. So he knows James Pierre as well. And James Pierre, in an increased role last year, actually played pretty solid. Low snap counts, low contract flyer on this guy. I'm perfectly fine with that. Also, we had Ryan Kelly retire. Best of luck to you. Obviously, concussions really derailed that career. And then as of right now, the only release that shows on here is Jonathan Allen. That's expected to happen. And Aaron Jones also expected to be released along with Javon Hargrave. I'm perfectly fine with all those. We had to get cap compliant. We also did a whole bunch of restructures on Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw, and Byron Murphy. We are set on the cap now. We still have money to play with. And obviously, we are probably going to be bringing in a quarterback. And that quarterback is probably going to be Kyler Murray at this point, because if it's not him, it's going to be someone like Kirk Cousins, who I would be happier with, but probably not when it talks about the financials of it. Kirk is probably still going to be looking for around $20 million a year. That's going to take up a lot of our cap, whereas Kyler Murray is going to be $1.3 million. We've talked a lot of shit about Kyler Murray on this show. I've talked a lot of shit about Kyler Murray on the show.
Kyler Murray's about to be your fucking boy, though.
He's about to be a quarterback on my team. I still hope that we can have a competition between him and JJ McCarthy. I think it's a good thing for JJ McCarthy, though, because the Vikings intended on McCarthy sitting his first year. They didn't intend on him sitting with an injury. Last year, they intended on JJ McCarthy having to compete versus Daniel Jones, and we got fucked by our GM and Daniel Jones trying to leverage our contract offers with the Colts. Like, Kyler Murray is, if he comes here to Minnesota, he is probably the odds-on starter. I don't see how he doesn't come in and become the starter day one. Hopefully there's a competition, but for JJ McCarthy, that allows him to sit, learn, work on the mechanics, not be forced and thrust into a role until Kyler Murray gets hurt or plays like shit because the new Call of Duty came out.
Double XP weekend, baby.
Hey, look, I will say this. Kyler has had some years where he has put up MVP style play. He doesn't have a ton of wins. There's things that I am seriously concerned about as far as scheme fit with Kevin O'Connell. He's probably going to come in and play really fucking good. That's just the way it's going to go for me, because I am not a huge fan. I am getting some inklings, some feelings of how it was when Brett Favre came to the Vikings. I hated that. It's not as bad, but this is a team that went 9-8 last year, with terrible quarterback play and barely didn't make the playoffs, and you put a guy in who's league average, and we probably win 2-3 more games, a double-digit win team at that point, we could be back in the playoffs. Kyler's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot to prove to me, but I think he's got a lot to prove to a lot of people if he wants to get another good contract going forward. So he's got everything to play for. Kevin O'Connell has done really good things with veteran quarterbacks. He hasn't done enough with JJ McCarthy yet to say that he is fully a quarterback guru, but he is definitely a quarterback whisperer when it comes to the rehab school. So come on down, Kyler Murray, I guess. We'll see how this goes.
I feel like this might be Spicy Mike hopping in here.
Look, I've been receiving texts from him and Philadelphia Eagles sideline reporter Roberto Gussolini. Look, if I wanted to, I could absolutely talk myself into Kyler Murray. And I have had to take a step back because I'm such a JJ McCarthy fan, and I think that he could be very good. But if JJ McCarthy wasn't on my team and these were the options going forward, I would absolutely be pounding the table saying, yeah, Kyler Murray's the best option. Let's go out there and get him. Like, he's not looked good in Arizona, but what has looked good in Arizona ever? Like, they've had times here and there where they've looked good, but like, not a whole lot goes well with that fucking franchise. Kyler Murray was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. He has played MVP caliber football before. Possibly get to see a career resurgence. He's got a lot to prove. He's probably going to play pretty fucking good for my Vikings and immediately make us into a playoff team. We'll see. I don't want to root for a guy to fail on my team. So I'm not going to. But when he does, I'll say, I told you so. And that's what I have to say about that for right now.
Producer Amber, by the way, also is correct. One good thing about Arizona is the sunshine. I wish I had some fucking sunshine because it has been gloomy and overcast here.
It was rainy here today.
For what, an hour?
Well, it was most of the morning, but I mean, it was 80 degrees, but, you know.
I got you. All right, brother, you ready to move on to the Patriots?
Yeah, absolutely. So Patriots, they go out there again, sign Romeo Doubs to a huge fucking deal. It says 4 years, $68 million. I've seen it reported anywhere from 4 years, 50 to 4 years, 80. All over the place with this. Either way, the guy's a walking concussion. Elijah Vera Tucker, solid interior offensive lineman. He's played all on that Jets offensive line. Big signing there. Draymond Jones off the edge, Reggie Gillum at fullback, and then they extend the Paisano, Tommy DeVito. Also, Stephon Diggs released, going to the penal system. Patriots, obviously not as aggressive as they were last year, despite having some cap space for it. But look, Elijah Vera Tucker is a good signing for them. They need more offensive line help. Super Bowl kind of proved that a little bit. And yeah, I don't like the Romeo Doubs signing for them. Definitely not at that number, but we'll see.
They need weapons. They need offensive line help. I'm glad that Tommy got signed. They're going to still need to go out and find a number 1 receiver, especially with the release of Stephon Diggs. I kind of figured that there was something going to come down with Stephon Diggs. I wasn't sure he was going to get released, but yeah, they're going to have to go out and find a number 1 to really help Drake May and make sure that he has a legit target. Because I don't think that Romeo Doubs is that dude. They're paying him like he's kind of that guy, but even still, that's wide receiver 2 money in today's NFL.
They don't have a 1 there. Kayshon Boutte's good, but he's not a 1. You've got Kyle Williams there. He's good. He's not a 1. Those are both guys I really like, but they're not number 1 solid lockdown targets. So they should probably focus on this draft that has a lot of wide receiver talent to try to continue to fill out that room more.
I'm gonna pop this up here real quick. So thanks, Crazy Blade, for hopping in here, brother. The Crosby, it's fucking insane. The fact that he failed the physical changes a lot about this entire situation. If the Ravens just back out of it because some other reason, I think there's a lot of teams making a call to the Raiders saying, "Hey, what do we got to do to get maxed? The fact that he failed the physical, there will be a lot less teams calling. I think the Raiders can absorb Max back in. The contract will be okay. I just don't know if the relationship can be mended because he's already been agreed to be traded once. So I don't know. I don't know if that relationship is going to work. I could foresee Max getting surgery and potentially sitting out this entire year because he's failed the physical. They already sat him, he's injured. I think it's going to get very, very contentious. But I wanted to pop that in here real quick. Thank you for the comment. But you ready to move on to the Saints, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So Saints, they go out there and they sign my fucking punter, you assholes, to a big $14 million deal. Look, Ryan Wright had a really good year last year, was kind of buns before that. So for the Saints' sake, hopefully he's continuing on that upward trajectory. I'm more sad to see him go just because he was the holder for the best kicker in the league, and I don't want that to mess up the whole mechanism there. Big Dick Bill will miss you. They also go out and sign running back Travis Etienne to a big 4-year deal, which brings into question what Alvin Kamara's future is going to be with this team. Are they going to be possibly releasing him, trying to trade him? I believe it's a $20 million dead cap hit to release him. So we're talking about a trade. He carries around $10 million. And if you look at some of the running back contracts that have gone so far this free agency with what's considered to be a weaker running back draft class, I absolutely think that Kamara could fetch a mid-round pick of some sort for a team that's needy. I wouldn't be completely against him coming to my Vikings at this point. They also bring in guard David Edwards, linebacker Caden Ellis, and tight end Noah Fant on a pretty reasonable deal. Re-signed John Ridgeway there for the Saints. A couple big ones there, though, at the top. Travis Etienne and David Edwards, they are throwing around a little bit of money. It's something that the Saints haven't been able to do a whole lot of recently.
Yeah, they are finally getting out of salary cap hell. I'm sure they are very happy about it. Etienne is a good signing for them. Kamara is well past his prime. He's not the same back. So they get a guy very similar skill set style in Etienne, who's much younger. And, fortifying that offensive line to help a young quarterback in Tyler Shuck is a really good fucking idea. So they're making smart moves. They still got a little bit of cap room to work with as well, $16 million. And this team has the most dead cap of any team in the NFL right now. Well, maybe. This might not be updated with the Dolphins and Tua. But they are going to potentially continue to be on that upward swing when that dead cap starts to fucking fall off.
Yep. All right, New York Giants, new head coach, and a whole bunch of movement here. Isaiah Likely, Harbaugh brings in his former tight end. 3 years, $40 million. Good deal there for Isaiah Likely. Tremaine Edmonds also brought in to replace the release of Bobby Okereke, Bobby Okereke was team captain, good, solid linebacker for him. I don't know that I like Tremaine Edmonds better than him at this point, especially for the money that he was brought in for. But there nonetheless. Also, they re-signed Jermaine Illuminor, who has been just a solid right tackle. Not good, not bad, but solid for them. So good to bring him in, kind of help continue solidifying that offensive line. Greg Newsome, some of you're a little familiar with, brought in there to play cornerback. Adarius Washington at safety. Chris Manhertz was re-signed as well. And then Jordan Stout brought in to be a punter. And Patrick Ricard, also from that Ravens team, big defensive lineman / fullback, brought in there. So they're going to be focusing on running the ball a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of thought Isaiah Likely was going to end up being signing up there. Makes total sense. A lot of these guys, Harbaugh has some familiarity with, either as players or as playing against them division opponent. Like, bring up the Greg Newsome. I wish Greg nothing but the best, but his time here at the end in Cleveland was pretty terrible, and the trade worked out great for us. I wish him well up there in New York, though. I think that what they're doing is smart. They're building a Harbaugh team. And they haven't really lost a ton of pieces. So they should be on the upswing. We saw a lot of young talent there already last year. You'll see probably a wide receiver at some point, because with Wan'Dale Robinson leaving, they'll want to find another guy. But I like what the Giants have done so far.
Yeah. And I will say PFF isn't doing the best job at showing their releases and departures. Cordell Flott is gone for the Giants at cornerback. Wan'Dale Robinson is gone at wide receiver, so that's a big loss for them. So keep that in mind as we're kind of going through some of these. New York Jets up next. So obviously we talked about their acquisition of Geno Smith. They also franchise tagged Breece Hall, traded for Minka Fitzpatrick. It was a pretty cheap trade, but a bigger contract for a guy who's been on a little bit of a downward spiral. It's not Minka Fitzpatrick of 5-6 years ago. Demario Davis is brought back into the team that drafted him on a solid deal there. They bring in Joseph Osai, David Onyemata, Kingsley Enagbare, Nashawn Wright on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal, which was surprising to me, and Dane Belton at safety. That Nashawn Wright is the former Bears and Vikings cornerback, but he had a huge year last year for the Bears. Tons of turnovers by Nashawn Wright. Not the best in coverage, but a turnover artist of sorts. I expected him to cash in a lot more than $5.5 million on a 1-year deal there. So they're getting him pretty cheap, seeing if he can repeat what he did over the last season. But a lot of defenders brought in here for this New York Jets team. Obviously, Aaron Glenn wants to try to rebuild that side of the ball.
The Jets are just getting the band back together. Listen, them keeping Breece Hall, I think, is a big deal if they want to find a way to be any good, especially if they help Geno Smith out. Having Breece Hall there is going to be important. Geno Smith knows how to play, quarterback at the NFL level at this point in his career. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking bringing in Minka Fitzpatrick for 3 more years and $40 million. That is crazy to me. Minka's been bouncing around, and that's been happening because he has not been playing nearly as well. He's still, I guess, starting caliber, but he's not the Minka Fitzpatrick of old. You're talking about, what's that, $13.5 million a year for a safety, and Minka Fitzpatrick. That's way too much money for me at this point. But it's the Jets. They have to overpay people to get them to re-sign contracts. It's the same thing that has happened with the Raiders. It's what happens with the fucking Browns all the time. They always have to overpay.
Yep. All right, Philadelphia Eagles, another quiet team here. They made their kind of one big signing today with Reek Woolen coming in on a 1-year, $50 million deal. Again, that's good money for him, but only for 1 year was kind of the surprising part to me. I expected him to kind of go somewhere on a longer deal. And then obviously they extend Jordan Davis. This team has actually lost a decent amount of players and only brought in Tariq Woolen so far. And questions about Jalen Carter and his status there with the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, they give this big contract to Jordan Davis, but Jalen Carter is kind of more the premier 3 tech that they have there. Some whispers and rumors about him possibly being on the trade block. Some teams have inquired about if he would be available via trade. It's one of the things that the Philadelphia Eagles have done a really good job with roster construction. Howie Roseman, we used to love to beat him up on the show, but he's actually turned out to do a pretty damn good job with this team. Any drafts pretty damn good. That's part of the problem is when you're really good at drafting, you get guys that are going to get paid a lot of money. You can't keep them all in house. So Philadelphia Eagles only 1 signing so far and some larger names being lost.
Yeah. Jordan Davis is a really good player. Tariq Woolen, I think, is a really good player. The Eagles are a really good team. They're going to sign good players. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of not Jordan Davis, Jesus Christ.
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Just forgot his name. This is a lot of money to give an interior defensive lineman in Jordan Davis.
Particularly a guy that's more of a nose tackle.
Right. So to pay another guy this similar type of money to commit that much to your interior defensive line is not a typical way teams are constructed. So I don't know that they're going to be able to resign him, or if that's their plan. Because typically you just don't see that kind of money committed to that position. Now, defensive tackle is becoming more of a premium position in the NFL, is being seen that way, especially somebody who can penetrate and cause pressure from inside. But I mean, you're going to be looking at upwards of $60 million a year, probably, if you re-sign both of these guys committed to the interior defensive line. I just don't know if that's tenable in terms of roster construction.
Yep. All right. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, they make that trade for Michael Pittman Jr., solid receiver there. Jamel Dean coming over from the Buccaneers has been solid. Something happened there with the Buccaneers where he basically had said, like, yeah, there ain't no way I'm coming back here. I think he's done with Todd Bowles. So a good cornerback signing for them there. Cam Hayward was extended for 1 year. Asante Samuels brought back, Cole Holcomb brought back, and Rico Dowdle, one of the better running backs still available out there. They replace Kenneth Gainwell with a Rico Dowdle, which in my opinion is a bit of an upgrade, especially at the number that they got him at. Also, Johnny Smith was released.
Yeah, the Steelers have actually had a really nice start to free agency, which pisses me off. Getting Michael Pittman for them was big. Extending Michael Pittman to that kind of a deal, you get him for less than $20 million a year. Like, you're paying him less than you're paying than the Colts are paying Alex Pierce. Good job. And Jamel Dean's a good player. I think paying Cam Hayward $32.25 million a year is fucking absurd. But you know what? I feel like that's a little bit of seniority. He's kind of earned it inside of that organization, so they're going to pay him. Good for him, but that's a huge number.
We have to see what the actual contract details are there, because I can see there being like a couple void years on the back end of this deal.
Yeah, that's a massive number for Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
But you know what? Rico Dowdle for $6 million a year, that kind of helps offset that a little bit, because Gainwell got $10 million a year.
Yeah. So, very, very solid deal there for Rico Dowdle. And this is all good, possibly for nothing, if you bring back Aaron Rodgers or if you don't, because quarterback's a question mark there still. Again, Aaron Rodgers has the Steelers by the balls. San Francisco 49ers, they bring in Mike Evans on a 3-year, $60.4 million deal. Pray for Mike Evans and his health. Also, they extend Andy Pinheiro and sign Vidarian Lowe, former Viking, from the Patriots on a pretty solid deal there. Probably insurance at left tackle for if Trent Williams is moved, because they cannot reach a deal with him currentently. Relatively quiet there for the 49ers. Mike Evans, obviously, we think the world of him, 1,000-yard receiver all the time, except for he's getting more and more and more injured. So, Bucs fans, I know, very sad to see him leave. But obviously he'll be a pretty damn solid target there for Brock Purdy and the 49ers.
Yeah, Mike Evans is going to be great for 3 games until the fucking power substation just snatches his fucking hamstrings. It's going to be weird to see Mike Evans in a different uniform. I don't like it. And I'm legit worried for Mike Evans' like long-term health with the power substation.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have anything else to say about these moves. Mike Evans, though, man, best of luck out there, man. For real. I hope he can find a way to put up another 1,000 yards. It'll be a fucking medical miracle.
All right, Seattle Seahawks, your Super Bowl champs. They re-signed Rashid Shaheed to a pretty solid deal there. Nowhere near Alex Pierce money, but there are many ways similar types of players. Josh Jobe also re-signed, and they extended Drake Thomas. No external hires here for the Seattle Seahawks. And again, a lot of times good franchises don't go out and make big splash signings. They draft well. They keep their guys in-house. That's what you're seeing here from the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, they already made one trade, and now they're retaining him as Shaheed. So they made that mid-season trade. It worked out. Shaheed paid dividends, especially in the return game. They retained him. Very smart. They're going to draft incredibly well because that is what they do. The Seahawks will be a good team, basically, no matter what, especially since they got a quarterback that they really believe in now and who believes in himself. Oh, and I thought Gainwell's money was higher. It says it's only $7 million here.
Yeah, I guess.
I thought he got 10.
Now, look, these numbers absolutely could be off too. They're all reports.
None of these are official. That's fucking MAXX Crosby.
Yeah. But Buccaneers, they re-signed Cade Otton, bring in Alex Anzalone, and sign Kenneth Gainwell, a pretty solid receiving back there to help bolster the backfield. Obviously, they lost Mike Evans, but not a whole lot of other moves here for Tampa Bay. I like Cade Otton a lot. I know that Baker likes Cade Otton a lot, so solid to bring him back there on a respectable deal, $10 million a year. And then Alex Anzalone, when healthy, is a pretty solid linebacker option. Still a lot of holes there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for them to figure out, specifically edge rush type help, but not a whole lot else to talk about here with Bucks.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about, and I don't know that there will be. They have $2 million in salary cap space. So they'll be looking to restructure deals to generate some more money so they can maybe go out and sign a couple guys, and they'll be looking to the draft. So I would, if you're the Bucks.
All right. Next up, Tennessee Titans, another team that was bad, has a lot of money, went out and made a lot of signings. They get Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 years, $70 million. John Franklin Myers on the defensive line for 3 years, $63 million. Cordell Flott, Alante Taylor, Joshua Williams, a whole new set of defensive backs there. Tight end Daniel Bellinger to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Austin Schlottman coming again from the Giants. Jordan Elliott and a backup quarterback in Mitch Trubisky to right alongside Will Levis on the Pine. They also released Xavier Woods and Lloyd Cushenberry. A lot of former Giants coming down here on that offensive side of the ball, even the defensive side of the ball, to play with Brian Daboll again and Bob Saleh.
Yeah. So it's always confused me why teams do this. Like, oh, yeah, you just got fired from your other team, but you want to bring all of those guys here? And it's not going to do – you're not going to have the exact same amount of limited success that you had there that got you fired. Makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. The logic has always been baffling. But I do like the fact that they go out and they get aggressive in the secondary. They have been really bad in their secondary for a long time. So attacking that is going to be huge. Wan'Dale Robinson, another, solid target, but feels like not a necessarily number one target. A lot of number 2s and 3s in Tennessee still. Because they had a couple of rookies last year that you liked some of the production and their abilities, different types of abilities. But I don't see a true number one there, and that's something that you're going to want to find for Campbell.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different take. I think Daboll was kind of forced out. It was like a foregone conclusion that he was going to be fired up there, because things did go awry. Like, he wasn't necessarily the best head coach, but he did put together good offenses in Buffalo. He was starting to get something going, the semblance of an offense there in New York. And obviously these guys wouldn't come if they didn't enjoy playing for him. Now that he's not the head coach and he can focus just on the offensive side of the ball again, like, I'm okay with it. And then, yeah, like you brought up the defensive backs there. Cordell Flott and Alante Taylor are both like solid number 2 style cornerbacks with a little bit of upside there. So bringing those guys in, pretty solid signings for this Tennessee Titans team. Next up, Washington Commanders. They extend Laramie Tunsil, expensive, but that's what happens when you play left tackle. They also bring in Odafe Owe at the edge position, Leo Chenal at linebacker, Tim Settle at defensive interior, Amik Robertson at cornerback. Mariota was re-signed, Traylon Burks was re-signed, and Jake Moody also re-signed there, with Tyler Biotish and Marshawn Lattimore both being released.
Yeah, so this is a team that has, that had the most salary cap and they retained a huge piece in Laramie Tunsil. And then they go out and they address the defensive side of the ball, which really kind of let them down this last year. The offensive side of the ball, I think that they will go ahead and attack in the draft because there's a ton of wide receivers. They need to make sure that they can protect their fucking franchise guy in Jaden Daniels. So get offensive linemen, make sure that you replenish that and get some fucking wide receivers. But this is a team 2 years ago was in the NFC Championship game. Last year they take a step back, and injuries were a huge piece of that. They have the money to go out and make some big time signings, and they can potentially be right back competing at a high level in the NFC. I think that some of these signings are maybe not huge needle movers, but they definitely needed to improve on the defensive side of the ball, and they brought in solid pieces here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say the same thing. This doesn't really move the needle for me. However, with the amount of cap that they have and with the needs that they have, it makes sense for a lot of teams to not get aggressive during day one of free agency. You sit back, you're able to get more veteran deals at a cheaper price than they were when free agency kicked off and everyone was going through a frenzy. A lot of teams do that. Works out for a lot of teams. The Patriots have been a team for years that have done that. They've gotten really solid contracts from players by sitting back, waiting, and getting value deals on guys who are going to be contributors and role players. I'm not happy with what the Commanders have done so far, but we are still very early on in the process where they could probably go out there and make a bunch of other signings that are actually going to help them kind of push the envelope forward.
Yeah, listen, I think this team could be really good again. Jaden Daniels, I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think he's the best young quarterback in the league. So them going out and making a bunch of moves makes a ton of sense. Marshall Lattimore, that was a drop in the bucket as soon as the trade was made. Yeah. And my man, I know we talked about this earlier. I don't think we're getting into quarterbacks and linebackers tonight. We're at fucking 2 hours. The MAXX Crosby news have kind of really shifted the way the night was intending to go. So to everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you very much. If you were expecting to hear us talk about linebackers and quarterbacks, that did not happen. We're gonna push things. We're gonna move schedules around, and we'll talk about those things coming up soon. But we had to talk about the free agency moves with free agency just opening. And then the MAXX Crosby news fucking threw a massive wrench. So everybody who did tune in, thank you very much. We had a great group today. Thank you very much. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. So anytime that you give some of us your time, we are forever grateful. I'm going to give Evo one last word. Then we're going to get out of here because we're pushing on 2 hours now. So we will be back, I think, probably next Tuesday. We'll see. We might pull a Saturday show just so we can get into these linebackers and quarterbacks. Evo, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, look, we talked a little bit about guys retiring today. Obviously, Ryan Kelly retired from my Vikings. Drew Dahlman called it a career early. I know that they probably have received some hate from fans who just look at these guys as commodities, but you need to remember that self-care is more important than wealth. Only a healthy person can enjoy that wealth. These guys reach the pinnacle, something that we all would aspire to be able to do in our careers and professions, and they deserve to have that happiness. So remember, football players are humans too. Be nice to them. We don't want to lose any more people or anything like that. We love football, but they're not commodities. They're humans too. So just keep that in mind, especially now during this free agency period.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is Raw Dog Sports. We'll see you next week. See ya.